I get a lot of the yerba I've done reviews on from Pampa Direct, and I'm sharing some exciting news about Pampa Direct's online store. They're giving away $1,000 in prizes. With purchases of $50 or more, you can enter to win one of 10 $100 gift cards by using the code BIGWIN at checkout. Make sure to check the terms and conditions on their website. All purchases throughout the month of March that use the coupon automatically enter the giveaway. More purchases, the more chances to win. U.S. customers also get free shipping with purchases of $50 or more. You'll be able to find brands that you won't find anywhere else. Plus, you get to try some Argentine delicacies that you can't get around here, like dulce de leche, alfajores, chocolinas. I love the selection that they have. They always include something a little extra, like some extra little candies or something with the purchases. It comes really fast through FedEx, arrives right at your door in a matter of days. You really can't beat it as far as international shipping. I've seen it all over the world. Literally, people posting about their packages arriving in New Zealand, South Africa, all over Europe. So if you want to enter for a chance to win some money and get some good yerba, go to pampadirect.com. I'll put the link in the show notes. Thanks.
So I think we all know that everyone's looking for that little edge these days, right? Like how do we get the most out of our day? How do we, I don't know about you, but I'm always looking for ways to really dial in my focus and just be more productive.
Right. Yeah.
And it seems like everyone I talk to these days is really interested in Dr. Andrew Huberman's work at Stanford.
Oh, absolutely.
And it seems like he's become a really big figure in the whole, optimizing your daily routine and neuroscience and all that stuff.
He's become a real leading voice in understanding all that.
So we thought we would take a deep dive into one very specific element of his daily routine today here on the Deep Dive.
Okay.
And we're going to be focusing on his use of yerba mate.
Yeah, that's a fascinating one.
It is.
And it's something that seems to be getting a lot of interest.
Yeah. And, we always want to make sure that we are, giving you guys the information you need in a way that you can actually use it.
Absolutely.
No one wants to listen to a podcast for an hour and then come away with nothing.
Right.
So we're going to be looking at why and how Dr. Huberman uses yerba mate in his daily routine.
Exactly. We're going to cut right to the chase and try to figure out what's going on here.
And all the information we're going to be talking about today comes straight from accounts of his daily schedule.
Exactly right.
Okay. So with all that out of the way, why don't we just jump right in?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So what we know about Dr. Huberman's morning routine is that he usually wakes up really early, between like 5:30 and 6:30 in the morning.
Wow, that's early.
Yeah, I know. I'm not there yet.
Me neither.
But yeah, and it sounds like he really prioritizes his body's natural cues when it comes to waking up.
That makes sense.
So, he doesn't set an alarm or anything like that.
So he's really listening to his body.
Yeah, and then the first thing he does is hydrate.
Okay, so starting with the basics.
Yeah, and then he engages in, his initial morning activities.
Okay.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
He doesn't reach for any caffeine.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So he's not immediately going for that coffee or tea.
No, and that is actually a crucial point for our discussion today.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Because he waits 90 to 120 minutes
Wow.
after waking up before he has any caffeine.
That is a very deliberate choice.
It is.
It's not just, oh, I forgot to have my coffee.
No, it's a very conscious decision.
So tell me, what's the thinking behind this delayed caffeine intake?
Okay, so from what we understand, it all has to do with adenosine.
Adenosine.
Yeah, that neurochemical that's linked to sleepiness.
Right, yeah, that makes you feel tired.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the thinking is that by waiting to have caffeine, it allows that residual adenosine
Oh, I see.
to clear out.
That's fast.
So by the time he actually has his caffeine,
Yeah.
he's not fighting against that sleepiness.
I see. So he's letting his body naturally wake up
Exactly.
and then introducing the caffeine.
Yeah, and the idea is that this will help him avoid that big energy crash
Oh, yeah.
that so many people experience in the afternoon.
Yeah, like that mid-afternoon slump.
Exactly.
That's really smart.
It is.
I've never thought about it that way.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay, go on.
When he does decide to have some caffeine, he doesn't go for coffee.
Oh, so he's not a coffee drinker.
Nope. His go-to is yerba mate.
Yerba mate.
Yeah. And what's even cooler is that he often prepares it himself.
Oh, wow. So he's like a real yerba mate aficionado.
Yeah, he really seems to be into it.
So I'm curious, what are the reasons behind his preference for yerba mate?
Well, from what we've gathered, it seems like there are a few things going on.
Okay, let's break it down.
First of all, Yerba mate does contain caffeine.
Okay, so it does provide that energy boost.
Yeah, it gives you that alertness and focus that a lot of people are looking for.
Right.
But here's what's really interesting.
Yeah.
It also seemed to have a different caffeine-like substance.
Oh, what do you mean?
So the sources mention that yerba mate contains this other substance that's similar to caffeine.
Oh, that's interesting.
But they don't really go into detail about what it is exactly.
So it's a bit of a mystery.
Yeah, but it seems to suggest that yerba mate might have a different stimulant profile.
I see. So it might affect you differently than coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
And we know how everyone reacts to caffeine a little differently.
Exactly. And it seems like Dr. Huberman really likes how yerba mate makes him feel.
So it's not just about the caffeine content.
No, it's also about the overall experience.
Yeah, and how it affects his body and mind.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's one reason he prefers yerba mate over coffee. Are there any others?
There are, actually.
Okay, tell me more.
So the sources also say that Dr. Huberman finds yerba mate to be less dehydrating than coffee.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and that's a big deal for him.
Yeah, especially since he prioritizes hydration first thing in the morning.
Exactly. He's all about getting enough fluids.
Right.
And it seems like he's found that yerba mate helps him stay hydrated.
Makes sense.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
There's also a very simple reason why he chooses yerba mate.
Okay, what's that?
He just really likes it.
Oh, so simple, but so important.
I know. Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy something, you're not going to stick with it.
Yeah, and it seems like Dr. Huberman has found a drink that he both enjoys
Yeah.
and that supports his overall health and well-being.
So it's a win-win.
Exactly. And, we want to be super clear about something.
Of course.
There is one really important piece of advice in the sources.
Okay, what's that?
They specifically caution against drinking smoked varieties of yerba mate.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, it turns out that smoked yerba mate can contain carcinogenic properties.
Oh, wow. So that's a serious health concern.
It is. So if you're thinking about trying yerba mate,
Yeah.
just make sure you choose a non-smoked variety.
That's a really important point. Thank you for highlighting that.
Of course, we want to make sure everyone stays safe.
Absolutely.
So going back to his routine,
Yeah.
what's interesting is that he seems to prioritize tasks that require deep cognitive work in that period after waking up before he has his yerba mate.
Oh, so he's doing his most demanding mental work.
Yeah, like writing and planning and things like that.
Yeah, and that initial state of clarity.
Exactly. And it seems like he finds that he's able to really focus and get things done
That's fascinating.
before he introduces any stimulants.
So he's letting his brain naturally wake up
Exactly.
and then using caffeine to enhance his focus later in the day.
Yeah, and it's not just for mental tasks either.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The sources also say that he'll drink yerba mate before his workouts.
Oh, that makes sense.
He does resistance training 3 times a week.
Okay.
And it seems like he uses yerba mate as a pre-workout energy boost.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of people use caffeine before workouts.
Yeah, and it seems like yerba mate works really well for him.
So it seems like he's strategically using yerba mate
Yeah.
around specific activities
Exactly.
that demand heightened attention or energy.
Exactly. It's not just a random choice.
It's all part of a plan.
Yeah. And, to really emphasize how important yerba mate is to his routine,
Yeah.
one of the sources actually lists yerba mate as one of his top 5 Andrew Huberman routine products.
Oh, wow. So it's right up there with his other essentials.
It is, and the description they give is really interesting.
Okay. What do they say?
They call it a natural caffeine source that enhances focus and alertness without the jittery crash of coffee.
That's a great way to put it.
It is.
It really highlights the benefits he sees in it.
Yeah, and it also shows how he's thinking about caffeine in general.
What do you mean?
Well, it seems like he's really focused on finding a caffeine source that provides sustained focus and alertness
Right.
without any of those negative side effects.
Yeah, like the jitters or anxiety that some people experience.
Exactly, and it seems like he's found that in yerba mate.
That's really cool.
And, this whole conversation about yerba mate,
Yeah.
it actually brings up a bigger point about caffeine timing in general.
Okay, I'm listening.
So the information we have really reinforces the idea that delaying caffeine intake
Yeah.
for that 90 to 120-minute window after waking up
Uh-huh.
is a really good strategy.
Yeah, for avoiding that afternoon crash.
Exactly. And it also talks about being mindful of caffeine later in the day.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
They suggest limiting consumption after 2.0 or 3.0 p.m.
Yeah.
and ideally avoiding more than 100 milligrams after 4.00 p.m.
Yeah, that makes sense. You don't want to be messing with your sleep.
Exactly.
So it seems like Dr. Huberman's approach to caffeine is all about maximizing the benefits
Uh-huh.
while minimizing the downsides.
Exactly.
And yerba mate is just one piece of that puzzle.
Yeah, and the sources also mention other supplements.
Oh, right.
They talk about things like AG1,
Oh,
alpha
right.
GPC, creatine tyrosine.
Yeah, I've heard of some of those.
Yeah, and he also has a whole routine around sleep supplements.
Interesting.
But we really wanted to focus on yerba mate today.
Yeah, I think it's good to really hone in on one thing.
Yeah, because it's such an interesting part of his routine.
And it's something that a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, everyone's looking for that perfect energy boost.
Exactly.
So I think it's really helpful to see how someone like Dr. Huberman,
Yeah.
who's clearly very intentional about his health and well-being,
Right.
is incorporating yerba mate into his daily life.
So to sum it all up, what are the key takeaways here for our listener?
Okay, so if you're listening to this and you're thinking about trying yerba mate,
Yeah.
or you're just curious about how it all works,
Uh-huh.
here's what you need to know.
Okay, go for it.
First of all, Dr. Huberman seems to really prefer yerba mate over coffee.
Yeah. And he has his reasons.
Yeah, he likes the caffeine content.
Uh-huh.
He likes that it seems to have other stimulating compounds.
Right.
He finds it less dehydrating.
Yeah.
And he just enjoys the taste.
Yeah. So there are a lot of factors at play.
Exactly. And the second thing to remember is that he's very intentional about when he drinks yerba mate.
Right. It's not just random.
No, he waits a while after waking up.
Yeah, to manage those adenosine levels
Exactly. And he often drinks it before workouts.
for that extra energy.
Yeah. And last but not least,
Yeah.
remember to avoid those smoked varieties.
Yeah. Because of those potential health risks.
It's really important to choose a non-smoked yerba mate.
So it's not just about grabbing any yerba mate off the shelf.
Right. It's about doing your research
Yeah.
and making sure you're choosing a product that's safe and healthy.
And that fits into your overall goals.
Exactly.
This has been a really interesting deep dive.
It have.
I've learned a lot about yerba mate,
Yeah, me too.
and I'm definitely curious to try it now.
Me too. And I think it's really inspiring to see how Dr. Huberman is using it.
Yeah, it's clear that he's put a lot of thought into his routine.
Yeah. And he's not afraid to experiment
Right.
and find what works best for him.
So I think this leaves our listener with a really interesting question.
Okay. I like where this is going.
How does the timing of your own caffeine intake relate to your natural wakefulness and energy cycles?
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's something we should all be thinking about.
Yeah. And maybe after learning about Dr. Huberman's approach and why he chooses yerba mate,
Yeah.
might want to explore it as an alternative.
Yeah, maybe give it a try and see how it affects you.
Yeah. And if you're really interested in learning more about Dr. Huberman's routine
Yeah.
and all of his optimization strategies,
Uh-huh.
you can definitely check out the full article.
Yeah, we'll link to it in the show notes.
It's definitely worth a read.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's it for today's deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.